Well, I am going to get us started. And hello and welcome to everyone. I'm Meg Roundy. I'm Associate Director of Student Alumni Relations at the Haas School of Business. And I am just here to get this amazing panel started. So welcome everyone to Peer Coaching, a career development experiential learning space presented by Colin, Gerker-Junsay, Isela, Peña-Rager, and Ying, Kuah. Some brief housekeeping and reminders. Please note, we'll be providing the slides and a recording of the session to everyone on the main Now Conference website after the conference has concluded. And while the main presentation will be recorded, your breakout sessions will not be recorded. So please go free talking in those sessions. And then in today's session, you will be muted. Please add any questions you have to the chat. I'll be collecting questions and sharing them with our presenters throughout the session. You can also message me directly if you would like, if you wish for your questions to remain anonymous. And an FYI, there is closed captioning available. Please click the CC box at the bottom of the screen to allow for subtitles. And then finally, if you are comfortable, please do turn on your camera. We love seeing your beautiful faces. If you're not comfortable though, if you don't want to turn on your camera, not to worry, we love you anyway. And then finally, please do put in your Zoom name, your pronouns, if you would like to share those, and department where you work so we know a little bit more about you. All right, with that, I'm really excited to turn it over to our presenters, and Isela, please take it away.
Thank you so much, Meg. So I'm going to start us off the way that actually the whole conference started, which is with a land acknowledgement. So we have our first slide here. You can read along, and I'm going to go ahead and read exactly what's on there. UC Berkeley sits on the territory of Kuchun, the ancestral and unceded land of the Chochenyo-speaking Ohlone people, the successors of the sovereign Verona Band of Alameda County. This land was and continues to be of great importance to the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and other familial descendants of the Verona Band. We recognize that every member of the Berkeley community has and continues to benefit from the use and occupation of this land since the institution's founding in 1868. Consistent with our values of community inclusion and diversity, we have a responsibility to acknowledge and make visible the university's relationship to Native peoples. As members of the Berkeley community, it is vitally important that we not only recognize the history of the land on which we stand, but also we recognize that the Muwekma Ohlone people are alive and flourishing members of the Berkeley and broader Bay Area communities today. This acknowledgement was co-created with the Muwekma Ohlone tribe and Native American student development and is a living document. If you are not on Ohlone territory, encourage you to look up where it is that you are occupying because there's a rich history on whatever land you're on. And I will turn it over to Ying for introductions.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ying Kuah. I use the she, her pronouns. I am a program manager. I'm a trainer, instructional designer. And my favorite part of my job is a coach. Being a coach as part of the people and organization development team in people and culture, which formerly was known as Central HR. Amongst many of the fun projects I get to work on here in my role at UC Berkeley, one of my passions is to help build a coaching culture here on campus. And to do that, several initiatives. I co-teach the Growing as a Coach class with our wonderful Colin, Gerker-Junsay here as part of our Berkeley People Management series to really shift the way that we manage performance to using a coaching approach. I also co-lead the Berkeley People Management Executive Coaching Program with Colin, which couples a 360 leadership assessment with 6 months of unlimited executive coaching with ICF certified professional coaches from our vendor BetterUp to offer our people managers a cohort-based leadership development experience. I also co-founded the Cal Coaching Network, which is a community of practice of coaching, to have the space where all of us here at UC Berkeley can grow as a coach together and have that equal access to coaching from our peers. So all of these efforts in building a coaching culture really a common theme that really emerged, and it's the impact of having access to peer coaching. You know, it's the age of experiential learning. Classroom learning, that's not enough anymore. We need to do it to learn it. So I'm so glad to be in the space with you all today, presenting with my wonderful colleagues, Isela and Colin, and I'll let them introduce themselves. I'll popcorn it over to Isela.
Thank you so much, Ying. So my name is Isela Peña-Rager. I use she, her, ella pronouns. I am one of the co-chairs, along with Colin, of the Cal Coaching Network that Ying just mentioned. I'm also an assistant director at LNS, the College of Letters and Science, undergraduate advising at UC Berkeley, including a new little role for 5% of my time for a temporary time. I am the staff fellow with Berkeley People and Culture, focused on succession planning for the campus. And I wanted to say that I'm also one of the participants in the BPM executive coaching a program that Ying also just mentioned. So I'll pass it over to Colin.
Thank you so much, Isela and Ying. I collaborate with Ying on so many things, so I'm not gonna doubly repeat some things that Ying mentioned, but it's so great to be with you all this morning. Colin Gerker-Junsay, use him pronouns, work in Berkeley People and Culture as a learning design and organization development consultant and co-chair of the Cal Coaching Network. So glad to be with you today. And with that, I think I'm passing it back over to you, Ying. Or no, I'm sending it to Isela to talk about the Cal Coaching Network.
Thank you so much. So the next slide is about the Cal Coaching Network mission and purpose. So the mission and purpose of the Cal Coaching Network is to bring together managers and staff who are interested in developing their coaching and coachability skills, which we'll be touching on today, to have learning sessions and community conversations on various areas of coaching, and to provide a courageous skills practice opportunity. The programs and learning portion are monthly newsletter, coachability skills practices that we have. We have training workshops. We have community conversations periodically that are really about presenting and learning. An equity-oriented coaching certificate pilot that we have planned for 2022. So that's super exciting, close to my heart. And we'll be sharing a workbook for today's session later, which will include resources like the Cal Coaching Network website, we call it CCN, and the interest form. This is how you can join the listserv and become a member. And that will get you added to the monthly events as well as our newsletter. All right, and so Colin, back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Isela. You know, today's session is part knowledge sharing and part experiential, meaning you'll actually get to practice peer coaching in real time today. We're going to start with a short discovery reflection. So really speaking something into existence that you want to focus on, a challenge or a goal. And then we're going to zoom out a little bit to talk about what's coaching, right? We talk about it all the time. How does it show up? What's the structure? What's the framework? How are we thinking about these things? Then zoom in a little bit to focus on, okay, what's peer coaching? How does that show up? And why is it helpful to us in our lives and professional experiences? All of these conversations are going to be around exploring and planning and acting around your career development, wherever you are. If it's, I want to go get that next gig and here's the exact gig I'm going to apply for, what do I need to do to make sure I can get that gig? Or if it's, I want to crush what I'm doing right now, right in front of me. How am I burnishing and building my skills and competencies to knock it out of the park for the gig that I'm in right now? So then we'll close out the session and focus on questions, resources, and programs that can help further your career development.
So let's start with discover. This is our first step in the coaching framework, which we'll go into more detail in a little bit. So Colin's going to drop a session workbook in the chat, and we're going to give everyone a moment to click on that link. Thank you, Colin. And open the workbook. The workbook, this link is set to view only on purpose. So to make your own copy, just click on file and save a copy so you can create your own copy and make notes throughout the session today. This workbook is your compass for today. Each conversation's instructions are going to be listed in there, and there are helpful examples of coaching questions that you can use to jumpstart those conversations. So the first interactive exercise, we weren't kidding about experiential learning here. So we're going to dive right into a interactive exercise, which is to discover or name that one professional development goal that you have had, or maybe a challenge you have had in your mind for today. So a professional development goal or a career challenge that you're having. Okay? So in the chat, write your name and pronouns if you're comfortable, your organization, your department, a tiny bit about that one professional development goal or challenge you have in mind. So we'll give a moment for everyone. We're having some chat trickling in. Welcome from our UC friends, UC San Diego.
Both Ying and I have connections with UCSD
alumni, so go Tritons.
I think UCLA deserves some love too. I see you.
UCLA.
There's some representation in there. Yeah, I see it.
Santa Cruz. Yep.
Yeah.
My awesome maestra Patricia's here. Yay, thank you for being here.
Okay, I'm seeing how can I be a better coach and teacher, focus on career goal, some skills, developing leadership skills. Tune in on communicating the strength and skills that you have. Thank you for sharing. Career mobility. Yeah, absolutely. Learning to career plan for the long term. Awesome. Some great chats trickling in. And by the way, if anybody is interested in saving your chat, you can always just click on the 3 little dots in the chat box on the bottom right, and then you can save chat, because I'm seeing a lot of great stuff in here and very inspirational.
Yeah, that's great stuff. So, Ying, I think we might be able to move us forward and kind of start talking a little bit about the coaching model as these continue to trickle in.
So keep these things that you have just said in the chat in mind, because we're going to take that over to our coaching conversation in a little later exercise. But we're going to go ahead and do a little coaching overview. So what is coaching, Colin?
Yeah, what is coaching? I'm going to drop the workbook in the chat one more time for some folks that are asking for it. So yeah, coaching is partnering with individuals or groups in thought-provoking and creative ways that help maximize personal and professional potential. What you just spoke into existence is what you're going to focus on today. Wherever you are and whatever you want to go after, that's where we're kind of going to drill in. That discover space, I just spoke it into existence. Here it is. I really believe in myself. Explore, plan, and act. We're going to take you through those motions today as well. So hang tight. Coaching is a partnership between coaches and coachees, a positively focused way to explore options and opportunities, a process to change, to create solutions resulting in sustained change. Let me take a moment to kind of unpack what coaching isn't for a moment so we can create a little bit of that line in the sand. Coaching is not a method to get an expert's advice on what to do, right? Coaching is not a method to get an expert's advice on what to do. That is consulting or Googling a list of top 10 things to think about when you're doing blah, 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 right? It's not observing and learning from a seasoned professional. That's mentoring. It's also not a quick fix, because usually quick fixes do not work. So even though we're going to have this process today for about an hour, there's opportunities to connect with those that you interact with in your small groups today. So this is a great opportunity to keep some old friends and make some new ones. But I'm going to talk a little bit more about coaching before we dive into our activities. Thinking about this little graphic right here, which I created and I'm very proud of using clip art. This little cloud is not to represent that it's like really hazy out or it's a cloudy day and we're all gloom and doom. A cloud is like the thought cloud. Think of it that way, okay? You've put your thought out there about what you want to focus on, and we want to get you to that sunshine, right? We want to have you see the light, fiat lux. You want to go here, that's your goal. And a coach helps you explore and identify more efficient ways to achieve your goal. And we're going to talk about those skills that are needed to make that happen. Coaching is really about high ask and low tell. You'll notice on the graphic here, there's a coach in the top left, a mentor in the top right, which is more high ask, high tell, an advisor in the bottom right, which is high tell, low ask. In the left, you'll see supporter, low tell, low ask, that confidant, that friend that's going to support you no matter what. But that coach space is low tell and high ask. So that kind of contextualizes us a little bit more, draws that line in the sand and thinking about what's that role of a coach. And today we're going to get into a growth zone. The graphic in front of you shows a comfort zone, which is kind of an illusion of safety and control. A fear zone, which is about a deficit mindset, putting off your dreams, putting off what you really want to get accomplished and who you really want to evolve into. A learning zone, which maybe that's where you are right now, dealing with your challenges and problems. You just put them in a chat, right? You told us what your challenge is. You told us what your goal is. And it's an opportunity to acquire new skills. The growth zone is where we want to kind of sit today, where we want to kind of wade in the pool, finding your purpose, living your dreams, asset-based, strengths-based, and focused on new goals. If we're not changing, we're not growing. This is that opportunity to get into that zone. I want to talk just for a brief moment about coachability. We've said this term a few times. I'm going to pull out this quote from a wonderful author, actually from Oakland, Elena Aguilar, who is an expert in equity-oriented coaching mindset and practice, particularly in education, K through 12 and higher ed. The willingness and ability to be present and open to exploration, to examine assumptions, to generate creative solutions, and to take the risk of trying new things. The general ability to be open and receptive to learning at any particular time. It's not necessarily a technical skill or an inherent ability, but it's more so coachability about having a growth mindset. Coachability is determined by one's ability to be effectively responsive to constructive feedback. It requires one to do so without losing resilience. Let's be real, we're going to lose it sometimes, but how are we bouncing back? How are we not being diminished? How are we having self-motivation and creating structures around us, social, institutional, that we're being supported towards our growth? It's also defined by the ability to adapt, improve, learn, and have awareness of self and others, to role model hard work, and to communicate thoroughly and purposefully. Ying's going to talk a little bit about like, okay, this sounds all well and good, but how are we connecting this in the organizational context? So thank you, Ying.
Well, if you look up coaching benefit on Google, right, there's tons of things that proves that, you know, there's a reason why coaching has become so big and organizations are starting to adopt coaching into their culture. It's because not only there are organization benefits, there are also individual and team benefits. Think of the individual. I mean, coaching really improves communication and relationship and puts that personal growth in the center, right? The person being coached is the center of the conversation. It surrounds that person's own agenda and their growth. Coaching helps us be positive people, to help us, think of things in different perspectives, help us improve our work-life balance, be more resilient when faced with uncertainties or challenges. The benefits of coaching to mental health, to be more confident in our personal and professional lives. And when you have positive people, you're going to have better teams, right? So that trickling effect for teams, coaching increases that cooperation, that collaboration between teams, and enhances improvement, right? And reduces conflict. There's nothing we cannot just talk it out in a nice coaching conversation to learn all the different perspectives so we can work cohesively with each other. And then when you have well-oiled teams, your organization benefits as well. Coaching increases employee engagement. I mean, there's tons of data on boosting engagement, retaining talent, increasing overall productivity, employee morale, all of these things just, there's no wonder why we also want that in our organization, right? To have that coaching culture here at Berkeley and have access for everybody here to have access to coaching. And if we are not being offered, let's see how can we create that opportunity for ourselves by doing this to have these conversations with our peers, right? To create these opportunities for ourselves.
Ying, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about the type of coaching we're going to be doing today, because there's a lot of different types, there's a lot of different styles. There's no one way that some book says is the best way to do it. It's really about what the person's bringing forward, how they want to be in the driver's seat, what they want to get accomplished, and how we can support them through identifying their options, considering what, their plan of action, and how they can get support along the way. In thinking about the types of coaching, we have the manager to direct report style. We have the peer coaching, which is where we're going to hang out today. You have coaching from your professional networks that you might be involved with, trade organizations, trade associations, through personal relationships, coaching of your kids, coaching from your kids, from a professional certified coach. The list kind of goes on and on. There's a lot of different styles and approaches to coaching as well. There's asset-based coaching, which is strengths-based, cathartic coaching stance, which is a little bit more about working with emotions. I just got to get this thing out. Let me just talk it out so we can kind of get through my emotions of it. We also have the directive or instructive stance, which is more about changing behavior. It's a little bit more rare. It doesn't show up all the time, but it's out there, and you might benefit from it if that's how you like to be coached. There's a prescriptive coaching stance, which is more on exploration and recommendations. A supportive coaching stance, which is more focused on encouragement and affirmation. And then an equity-oriented approach. Everyone gets what they need from the organization, and that the tools and skills are available for everyone to be able to further their own career development and their own career journey. There is a longer form document with definitions of each of these styles linked in the bottom of your workbook today, but that just gives you a kind of high level overview of some of the more predominant stances and approaches that show up in the coaching world. Today, you might try out a little bit of all of it. You might try out a little bit of one or the other, but in a few moments, Isela is actually going to share with us some skills to be focused in on when we get into our breakout conversations.
Awesome. Thank you, Colin. So let me be clear with all of you, just totally honest. You've already coached people in your life, and you've also received coaching. We don't just show up and say, for the most part, we don't show up and say, hey, I'm going to coach you now, but we do. We do this with friends, colleagues, elders, loved ones. So some of the aspects of coaching, right? Asking open-ended questions, which you do without maybe even thinking. Articulate what's going on in a space, so you actually name it. You listen to understand. You hold the focus and attention by being present, which is very similar to the listening to understand. It goes hand in hand. You challenge, you support, and champion. And you may recognize that other people in your life have done this for you as well, and you may do it for each other. These are the key coaching skills to flex or exercise today, and really in any coaching conversation. Take a few moments to reflect these skills, asking open-ended questions, again, active listening to understand, being present, support, and at the heart of it all, being a real person helping another person. That in itself is super powerful. Hand it back over to Ying, I think.
Thank you, Isela, for, those are all skills that you probably already have, just didn't put a name on it. But now, and same thing with coaching. You probably are already doing that, just wasn't given a name on it. So now we're going to introduce to you the UC Berkeley coaching framework, which is a very simple 4-step model that you see here on the screen. It's really a great framework that we have here. It's super simple to use because we can apply this framework to any coaching conversation, a performance coaching conversation, if you're a manager having a performance conversation with your employees, a feedback conversation, just kind of peer-to-peer giving some feedbacks, and also today's career coaching conversation, focusing on your development. So the first step of the framework is to discover, to learn the situation, to unpack what is the root of it, to have the coachee lead the conversation to share their perspective and situation. In today's, it may be, what is that thing that I want to work on? Remember earlier we had that opening activity. What is that one professional development goal that I have? Or maybe a career challenge that I really want to unpack a little bit more today. So during this step, it's really tempting for the coaches to start offering solutions and advices, but we got to really remember with coaching, it's not about the coach. It's not about you solving the problem. It's not about your experience. It's about the person being coached. All you need to do there is ask your powerful questions and then wait. Why am I talking? I love that acronym. Wait. Let the person talk, right? To really help you understand the situation. And once that is discovered, that's the topic or the focus of the day or the conversation, then we can move to the second step of the framework, which is explore. This is where the coachee will identify, what are some of the options that can help the situation to, towards success. As a coach, you don't give advice. Again, it's going to be really hard to really pull back from advice giving because we just all have the need to be helpful. But actually, by you being there and just listening, holding the focus, all those skills Isela just talked about, you're empowering the person to come up with their own options, to help them think outside the box, maybe shifting perspective, to explore all the possible solutions. What we think might work for other people may not work for them. So it's the most powerful when they thought of it themselves, right? Once you have explored all your options, the next step is to plan your actions. Now we've thought of 10 great ideas. These are the things I might be able to do, but what am I really gonna do? What is it, the actions that I'm committing to? In plan step, you're really putting some planning on paper or, something that you're really committing to, right? Again, this is the coachee, the person being coached, being committing to. I'm gonna do this by this time. And, things might include who's gonna be involved, who do I need to talk to, what are some of the resources I might need, what is my timeline, how am I gonna hold myself accountable? This is the kind of going to work planning part. And then finally, of course, is the act. The coachee is gonna go do what they said they're gonna do. The coach is gonna be the supporter, right? This might involve, checking in. What support do you need from me? Do we need accountability buddy? Do we need to check in for those things? What are some appropriate adjustments that we need to talk about? If something that was committed to wasn't actually done, sometimes we may have to go through the cycle again to rediscover, well, what was the barrier that prevented you from doing the things that you committed to do? What are some options that we didn't thought of before that you might want to try? And the cycle goes on and on, right? So keep in mind, not every conversation or coaching conversation will go through the full cycle. Sometimes we have the whole conversation on just discover. Sometimes we stay the whole time on explore. And other times you may be able to go through the whole cycle in like 2 minutes, 5 minutes, right? So the point is not to jump into the next step prematurely, because think if we didn't discover our issue or situation that we want to work on, and we spent all this energy thinking options and planning and doing it, and it's not really solving our thing, then we wasted all that effort, right? So same thing with explore and plan. So you want to spend adequate amount of time and energy in each step before moving into the next. And then when you're done through the cycle, then there's the next thing. I've done this thing. What is the next thing I want to work on? What is the next opportunity I want to grow into? And it's that growth mindset, right? That Colin had said earlier, that keeps us going in this cycle.
My son is giggling, which is a really fun sound, but I'm also kind of like, so let's talk about how coaching shows up. Beyond the framework, skills, and styles of coaching, what does coaching culture look like? It's when people can freely do the following. So if you look at if you can see the screen there, give and receive ongoing, thoughtful, and actionable feedback. Also, when they can freely challenge and support each other. And to stress test new ideas, when they can really do that freely and safely. It's when people can freely support each other's thinking, which is a growth-based approach versus a fixed mindset-based approach. And also, it's also when people can freely have growth-based conversations that are short in length and strong on impact. So the bottom line is that the foundation of coaching culture has to be built on the fundamentals of for real, authentic inclusion and equity. This means we are focused on outcomes and growth for each employee in each situation every single day. Passing it back over to Ying, I think.
Yeah. So now let's talk about peer coaching. You know, we briefly introduced coaching to you, but today we're focusing on peer coaching to put it into experiential learning. So what is peer coaching? Peer coaching is actually really common in most of the educational sectors. It's basically having conversations about making things better, to partner in this growth journey, to brainstorm ideas together. It's a chance to take risks towards goals by speaking them into existence. I may think of one thing, but unless I talk it out with my peers, the amount of traction that I have is not going to be as impactful. So speaking into existence and then getting some inquiries around different angles and different perspectives that the peers can help you think of. It's an opportunity to create some order into your priorities, your passions, your goals, and to really identify, well, what is it that there are all these great things I want to do, but what is it that's most urgent that I want to work on next, in the next week, in the next month, right? So peer coaching helps us keep moving from good to great, to have that momentum, because you're supported by this group of people that wanting the same great things for you and for themselves, right? So it's a really great positive space to be in. It empowers a coaching culture with all the benefits that we said earlier. You know, it's having a coaching culture creates more engaged, more caring, more thoughtful, and efficient workplace. It's a better place to work in. It gives someone a spotlight to self and collaborative authorship and ownership, and to have that accountability. And by doing the work, we invest in ourselves and we grow together.
All right, back over to me. So I'd like to take a quick moment again to remind you all about the framework that we've presented, which is discover, explore, plan, and act. The next two conversations that we're going to go into are about exploration and planning, very specifically. First, I'd like to highlight a few skills we'll use in the peer coaching conversations. These are also skills that I would like to ask you to pay very close attention to. As you'll watch a video and see Ying, Colin, and we're going to do a demo that is showing one approach to peer coaching in a few moments. So if you have your workbook open, or if you have a pen and paper, if you want to take some notes and observations, I encourage you to do so. You're going to be looking for active listening. We're also going to be looking for paraphrasing. We're going to be looking for asking clarifying, open-ended, deeper dive questions that try to get to the heart of the matter. And also, finally, showing empathy, affirmation, and support.
Okay, let me share the video.
Go ahead and get ready to observe, take notes, pay close attention. Thank you so much. So my name is Isela Peña-Rager. Nice to meet you. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an assistant director at the LNS Office of Undergraduate Advising. I'm also a co-chair for Cal Coaching Network. And I'm really excited to be here with you.
Hi, Isela. My name is Ying Kuah. You can call me Ying. And I'm from People and Organization Development as part of People and Culture. Happy to be here, happy to provide support and a challenge that you're encountering. And I'll hand over to Colin.
Hi, Isela. Hi, Ying. Great to be with you all. I use he, him pronouns, and I work in Berkeley People and Culture, also support with the Cal Coaching Network. So, Isela, looking forward to hearing a little bit about kind of a career challenge or goal or issue that's kind of coming up. And Ying and I are happy to do some coaching today.
Sure thing. So my career goal, the thing that I'm really trying to focus on is about how I can influence sort of like my vision in my space, in my professional space. So part of that to me is like being able to influence my peers. And right now what I want to focus on is influencing my peers and maybe upper management a bit. So not so much about influencing the rest of staff. That's what I want to work on today. And particularly, I wanted to share with you a challenge that I'm having right now as we're doing Achieve Together calibration conversations and thinking about the different opinions within my group of peers about how we should approach it, different understandings about how we talk with our direct reports. And so I'm really looking forward to exploring some of the options about how I can best influence my peers and my manager, maybe some of those folks at that level too.
So if I may start, to make our conversation really valuable for you, I'm hearing you want to focus on exploring some options in maybe influencing your peers in terms of the Achieve Together. Is the calibration conversation?
Yeah, part of it is the calibration, but I think my bigger goal is on how we approach supervision, how we approach as a team, how we manage our team, how we speak to our team, how we listen to them, how we coach them in our conversations when that's appropriate. And so for me, I think it's more like not even necessarily centered on this Achieve Together thing, but just in general moving forward. But this is what's kind of percolating in my mind right now because we're having these conversations.
Yeah, I'm definitely hearing a lot of values of yours coming up. So what is it about this that is so important to you that you want to get this accomplished?
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately, like one of my biggest goal in my professional career is to be student-centered and to serve students in the best capacity that we can through an equity-minded lens, right? And so we can get into what that means. I won't get into it right now. But what I do want to talk about is how it's important to me that being part of a really large unit where we have, about six different senior staff that are supervising folks, and then two other staff that are senior advisors who are also supervising, that we're able to come together in a way that our staff can experience, equitable type of access to professional development, to coaching, to goal setting. And so for me, it's really important that not just the people that I supervise, but also all the people that my peers supervise and my peers are getting those same opportunities as much as possible.
Yeah. So what is that gap that you're perceiving? right now?
Yeah, I think that, always what's happened in large groups, or what happens in large groups often, is that there are different styles. And part of that is just personality, right? And approaches, which is great. And another part is in my unit particularly, folks have been in the supervising or management role over different years. Like there were different kind of criteria when people were hired, different people who got hired on they maybe got hired by people who are no longer there, and so coming together as a team and just using all of that diversity, but being together and being able to have a common vision, common values that we agree on, that we all have kind of buy-in for. So the challenge is that sometimes it feels like that we're not quite there, that we're not quite in alignment, that maybe, for example, I'll say an example. An example would be, we have a really diverse staff. And so I think that there may be some supervisors from, I'm gathering that are not as comfortable talking about things around, racism or that our staff may be experiencing, microaggressions of different types, right? So that's where I'm coming from.
I just want to appreciate what you're bringing forward, Isela. When oftentimes we think about like career challenges, like what job do I want to go get next? But what you're focusing on is what am I able to accomplish and impact positively in the space in front of me, which is also a career goal. And my question for you, if you were to kind of think about your opportunity to do one or two things tomorrow, I'm not saying you have to go do those right now, but in your mind, what kind of comes up when you're thinking about those one or two things that you could do to reach this goal that you brought forward to us?
I think one of the things that I'm really happy about in the space that I described is that as a team over the last year, we have come up with a mission and values together. And so one of the things that I think we could do is maybe revisit the values when we're having these conversations, so that we're in alignment about, we're in alignment, we agree with this. Another thing, I think that would be fairly easy actually, because we all had a hand in it, right? And just like serving as a reminder, like, hey, let's look at these again, And then the other part is, I think being able to continue to, something I could do tomorrow, let's see. Being able to hold conversations on a more regular basis where we're all talking about this in a way that's normalized. So it doesn't feel like it's like, oh gosh, we have to do this conversation once a year. So maybe like making sure that we're bringing this up on a regular basis. That's something that I could just put it on the agenda, for example, for the senior staff or the assistant directors. And then it's on the agenda, I'll get like 1 or 2 minutes just to remind folks that that's something that we should be thinking of, right? So yeah, those are a couple of things I could think of.
Thank you. And I know we have to kind of close out our conversation because these are short breakout groups. And I do have one question for you though. And this is kind of to bring back to this idea of like, sometimes it's positive psychology, sometimes it's like thinking about strengths, but what feedback have you gotten from your team about the strengths that you have? And thinking about also the goal that you have that you brought forward. So a little bit of how those strengths might impact the goal that you have to move forward with.
Yeah, some of the feedback I've gotten is that, I do seem to care about our staff and not just the people that I am a direct report, and that I'm able to like bring that vision forward. And I'm also able to, I'm really interested in professional development for everyone and access. So I'm very much on top of that, and I share and I facilitate that we can get the funding for it. And, so those things are things that I have been told are strengths of mine. And yeah, so I really, just listening to both of you and the questions that you've asked, what I'm hearing is that I basically have the answers about the options that I'm ready to take, to the next step in the next day or two. So it's been really helpful just to help with your help of just asking me questions. And now I'm like, oh, this is actually not that challenging as if I think of it as like the next step, right? So if I think of just like the next possible step, I think what I have an idea of what I'm going to do. I think putting it on the agenda to be a regular item that we discuss is something super easy that I can do. And I know that there's already buy-in and already a culture around that. So thank you both.
Well, thank you, Isela. You're such an inspirational to talk to. You have such a awesome goal that it's not just you're focusing on your career, really. You're focusing on the equitable experience of the students. That's what I heard, that's your ultimate goal. By you influencing your peers, you're creating that opportunity for the students, and that's awesome. What I will leave you with is a inquiry of, maybe also think about like, who else can you network with that can be your ally in the space to do this influencing work with you together. And because I'm sure you're not alone in the department, like who can you leverage and what are some resources that you can leverage? But it's such a great time talking to you, Isela. Thank you. And we'll wrap up.
So what I'm going to do is that now you've learned about coaching, peer coaching, or we're able to check out one approach to peer coaching through our demo. It's now your turn to dive in deeper into your career growth and then the peer coaching conversations. So you'll most likely be in in groups of 2 or 3. It's a brief, but it's a really deep combo, about 15 minutes. Maybe we're going to say a little bit longer, 20 minutes for the groups. Okay. You'll share your name, your pronouns if you're comfortable, the organization or department that you're part of, and then share a bit about one professional development goal or challenge in mind. So those of you who were here early on, most of you were able to think through one of your challenges. And so maybe listening to me or, thinking through this whole presentation, you've come up with something else or the same thing. That's totally fine. Each person gets the spotlight for about 5 minutes. So please share a bit about your growth area and your goal. Bring forward what you're thinking of doing to address the challenge if you can, or if you haven't gotten to that point, that's totally fine. Just bring it forward. We'll start with that. And then peer coach partners will listen, recognize you, clarify, ask questions to help you unpack your options, anything else that you saw from the approach that you saw from the demo, or anything else that you've seen other people do in your life that have made you feel really good. Welcome back, everybody. So we're just gonna hopefully you had really some time to practice peer coaching in a way that felt friendly and small. And so now I'm gonna ask you, just for sake of time, to put the reflection and your comment about the question I'm going to ask in the chat, please. So one thing that I want you to reflect on is, what did you notice about yourself? So this is all about you. Like, what did you notice about yourself in the session, whether you were being coached or you were the one doing the coaching or listening? What did you notice about yourself? So go ahead and start putting what you noticed about yourself in the chat. And then I will ask 1 or 2 brave souls to unmute themselves and share as well. And if one of either Colin or Ying, if you could read out what you see in the chat. So again, the question, the debrief question is, what did you learn about yourself? What did you notice about yourself in the peer coaching breakout room?
Yeah, Adriana says, I noticed I felt the need to give a lot of context to explain my challenge that I haven't necessarily verbalized before. Context is absolutely royal. Yeah, thank you so much for showing that. Daryl share, thanks for the comment there, Daryl. I definitely paused to think a lot about after one of the questions, right? So the question came in and gave the moment to pause. Tracy shares, I wanted to jump right away when the others were explaining their challenges or goals. I told myself to pause and actively listen. Nice, Tracy. It's a practice. It takes skill. Yeah, these are great responses. I was mentioning in the chat, we did a little peer coaching while y'all were in your groups. I noticed that I don't forgive myself for mistakes, and that's a barrier to my growth. So that was a vulnerable moment that we all had with one another. Hopefully you had some as well in your groups.
All right.
Yeah, Beth shares, I noticed that I wanted to help, but I was not sure how to get from clarifying, listening to supporting. Yeah, how to support others rather than ask what the practical next steps are. Yeah, it's definitely an art and a science there. So I appreciate you bringing that forward. Marianne says, I noticed that I had my idea to bring, but it was difficult for me to articulate it. And then Victoria and I both laughed when a particular project we were both of them affected by came up. That's fun. I love that kismet. That's amazing. And I needed to pause. These are great.
A lot
Yvonne,
of
yeah, go
synergy
for it,
there around
Isela.
pausing. No, I was just noticing that a lot of folks thinking of that new kind of muscle to flex around pausing, right? Around listening and pausing and stopping and letting others talk. Awesome.
I also appreciate Catherine's comment about I was nervous to ask the right questions and really try to focus on listening to my partner instead of trying to figure out how to respond. Yeah, that listening to understand and not listening to respond. Great job.
I'm going to go ahead and ask one brave soul to maybe think, ask everyone to think about how you will engage in peer coaching moving forward outside of this session. And so if one of you wants to unmute yourself and go for it, you have our attention and our encouragement and our support. So what is one way that you will use peer coaching after today? Do we have any brave souls?
Maybe folks are talked out.
I
Oh, there it is.
idea.
As soon as
Got
we
one,
get
we got
awkward
one.
and say no one's saying
Wait
anything,
long
go
enough.
for it.
Somebody will do it.
Yeah. I felt like it felt good to be coached. And I feel like I'm always like looking for opportunities to coach. It's part of the nature of my job, right? But I think maybe searching for more opportunities to be able to talk things out, that's kind of one thing that I took from this, because coaching is fun, like doing it. But one thing I realized as I was being coached by Tracy and Yvonne was that, oh man, I need to be coached sometimes, So I definitely think finding those opportunities to get some coaching from others will be good. And I think I saw some resources on the website somewhere. So yeah.
Great. Thank you so much, Daryl, for talking through looking for opportunities for coaching. There are resources, and definitely taking the initiative ourselves is really important. That's great. I wanted to just go on to the next slide. If we could go to the Join CCN Cal Coaching Network to wrap us up. So I wanted to really plug this upcoming event that we have. So join the Cal Coaching Network for June 24th, 11 o'clock community conversation. It's going to be storytelling by these amazing inspirational leaders at the UC Berkeley campus. And also Winnie is from, can you remind us of Cal State East Bay? Is that correct,
Yes.
Colin? Yeah. So we have the snapshot there. Storytelling, personal experiences, and approaches to coaching and coachability. So it'll be really fun. We're going to record that as well. And it'll be on our website later for those who cannot make it or who even are outside the UC Berkeley network. Just want to thank you and pass it on over to Colin and Ying as we're finishing up. We're a little over time here.
So thank you all so much. You've been a great audience and participation group. That's all I have to say. Thanks, y'all. Have a great time at the Now conference today.
Yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Happy coaching.
Meg, is there anything else that we need to close us out for today?
Yeah, just a quick reminder that feedback is a gift. Please fill out the survey from today's wonderful session. And then to let everyone know, next up, we have a 1-hour lunch break. If you're interested in participating in a network activity, which goes really well after a coaching session, there are 2 times available for you to join, 12:50 to 1:15 or 1:15 to 1:40. And you can find the Zoom links on the venue website for those sessions. Registration is not required. Please just jump in, and then we'll convene at 1:45 in our main webinar room for the optional adult recess stretch break. That's perfect for us adults. The third and final round of breakout sessions will begin at 2. So thank you so much to our presenters. I was letting them know that this has been such a joy and a blessing for me to be part of and to learn. And so I hope that you all felt that way too. So thank you so much to Colin, Isela, and Ying. You have added so much to all of us. Thank you, thank you. Mwah! Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, y'all.
Okay, thank you.